So I want to throw out a couple of numbers that I want you all to sit with. This was courtesy of Kevin Anderson of NBC Sports Chicago, who got this from Sports Radar. The Bulls became the second team tonight since the 1996-97 season to lead by 20-plus points at any point in the first quarter, and then trail by 10-plus points at any point in the second. In addition to that, the Bulls also allowed the most three-pointers in a single game tonight in franchise history, which was 25 threes in total made by the Nets. 25 threes, which I believe they said on the broadcast tied a franchise record for the Brooklyn Nets. The Bulls, a team that has always struggled to get out to good starts, has always talked about how they need to come out with more energy, how they need to not look to just match the energy of their opponent and feel things out as they start the game. They just need to come out and hit hard from the beginning of it. Started out this game 22-3. The Bulls led by as many as 21 points in the first quarter, shooting lights out from three, where it was almost a joke at how great they were shooting. I believe they were 8 for 10 at one point. And then rather than taking that energy and riding the big lead, never letting up, keeping the focus, keeping the drive, they would go on to follow that up with a second quarter in which the Nets would start out the quarter on a 15-1 run, bringing them right back into the game, and would close out the quarter 44-19 on the Bulls, giving them an 8-point lead at halftime. Yeah, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. This has to be the softest team in the league to allow that to happen. This team cannot play and compete for the whole 48 minutes, because even when they do start out strong for the first time in their lives like they did tonight, they go to sleep from that point on for the rest of the game. I mean, seriously, go back and look at the Bulls' measly 5 wins so far this season. The only win they've had this season where they truly played a complete game was in the win against the Utah Jazz. In some wins, they had to crawl their way back and go through massive swings from quarter to quarter just to win the game. How does that happen at the professional level so consistently? Like, we see it happen from game to game with teams in the regular season throughout the NBA. Yeah, they take some quarters off here and there, don't put the pressure on, but to have it happen literally every game is just baffling to me. This team is done. Hell, I'm done at this point. And yes, I say that knowing full well I'll still be back for the next game because I'm a diehard fan through and through. If I can live through the post-dynasty years as a teenager, I can live through this. But this is as down and out as I've been on the Bulls in a long time. Worse than the 3 alpha seasons, worse than the rebuild years after they traded Jimmy Butler, because what irks me more than anything about this group is that they do not care. And as you guys know full well, to win me over as a fan, you don't even have to be the best. You don't even have to be a starting level player in the NBA. But if you give me maximum effort and simply show some sense of pride when you put on that Bulls uniform, that's all I care about. You come out and you give us fans hustle and effort. You come out playing like it's your last game every game. That's what I love about Alex Caruso, which is unfortunate that he was out of the lineup tonight, because I would imagine the Nets wouldn't have hit as many threes as they did had AC been in the lineup guarding the perimeter. But outside of Alex Caruso actually giving a damn out there, I can't say that about any other guy on this roster. They may feel that way deep down somewhere, but they certainly don't show it on the court. And yeah, it's why I'm out on this team. This group doesn't even like playing together. Billy Donovan looks as checked out as the players at this point. So yeah, what else is there left to be clinging to? Bless those who are still in on this team. Respect. I've been out on this team for a while, but there was always this sliver of hope that maybe they will be able to somehow turn things around. Nah, not after tonight. You don't come back from an epic collapse like that, showing no heart or pride in the process. It's funny because we talked about how the Bulls' next 11 games after the loss they had the other night against the Oklahoma City Thunder, how there was a world that they don't win a single game in the next 11. But that the first 2 games in that 11 against the Raptors and the Nets would be their most winnable. And they've already lost both of those games. Now they got the Celtics, the Bucks twice, the Nuggets, the Heat twice, the Sixers, the Lakers. I mean, it's going to get even uglier before we see this thing blown up. Because it's not going to make any sense to execute any trades when so many players around the league aren't eligible to be traded before December 15th. The other thing I'll say about this game, and then I'll dive into some of the numbers, I tweeted this as well. We know that if this was any other team than the Chicago Bulls, the coach would be fired after a game like tonight. We can all agree that if this was any other team, the coach would be out. Now, whether that's his fault or not is beside the point, even though we know we've talked about how Billy Donovan has some serious blame for how this team has shown up so far this season, but that's really just how the NBA works. A team that has aspirations of winning. They're not trying to lose. They're not rebuilding. A team that actually wants to make it to the playoffs after a disappointing season last year where they miss the playoffs despite the talent they have. They come out next season and they start out the year 5-13 with some bad losses, and coming off a loss in which they blew a 21-point first quarter lead and gave up 25 threes. Yeah, that coach would be out of here. But not with the Bulls. They gave Billy Donovan that secret extension, an extension that just went into effect. They're not going to pay a coach to sit around and do nothing. So they're going to hang on to this as long as they can. Just unbelievable. But anyway, for this game, honestly, this one is tough to even talk about and try to pull away any positives. But what I will say, though, is a very impressive performance from the Bulls' younger players in Patrick Williams and Coby White. Big game from Pat, and this was coming off one of the few bright spots in the loss the other night in Toronto. Season high for him, 20 points. He was efficient, 7 for 19, 4 for 5 from 3. For the most part, he was decisive. He was actually one of the few being aggressive on the defensive end and not missing assignments, because aside from Patrick Williams, the defense was god-awful tonight. Pat actually finished the game with the highest box plus minus of plus 14. And then for Coby White, wasn't the most efficient. He did miss a lot of threes and took some bad shots at times, but he does continue being a threat from 3. He was 5 for 12 from deep, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. DeMar was solid, tried to will this team back into the game in the third quarter and going into the fourth, but it just wasn't enough. 27 points on 11 for 22 shooting, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Even Zach Lavine, who was quiet in the first quarter run, finished with 20 points, although he didn't shoot the ball very well. Like, it's very rare to see 4 of the Bulls starters finish with 20 plus points. That just doesn't happen. But outside of that, though, yeah, nothing good. The bench was terrible tonight. They enabled the Nets to get back into the game with their terrible defensive effort and missed shots in the second quarter. You compare that to the Nets bench, which was solid, particularly Lonnie Walker, who lit the Bulls up from 3. Well, everyone did tonight. And then Vucevic, I mean, I still respect and defend Vuce because he's one of the higher IQ players on this team with his passing ability, but Vucevic, it's painful to watch just how badly he gets beat off the dribble sometimes. Like for Vuce, he's always been kind of slow, but I feel like he's reaching new levels of slowness this season, and maybe some of that is because he himself is checked out. Maybe it's his age, because he is 33 and you should expect him to slow down a bit since you first traded for him back when he was 30 years old. But it's been absolutely killing the Bulls on the defensive end in the paint. And not only that, on offense, he just still struggles to find his touch. So many close hook shots that go long, easy putbacks that he smokes. It's just painful to watch. A brutal game for Vucevic on both ends of the floor. And it kind of leads me into my final point, because it's become pretty clear that their core 3 players of Vucevic, DeMar, and Zach Lavine, while still good, it's pretty noticeable that all 3 of them have dropped off a bit this season. You're starting to see that sense of decline from both Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan in terms of their efficiency and speed on the court. Lavine has tapered off a bit. They're the slowest team in the league in terms of pace, bottom 5 in the league on offense, no longer the defensive team they used to be last season. Yeah, this team is cooked. And the end of this era of Bulls basketball cannot come soon enough. I am so done with this team. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts on the game and the state of this team in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.